Hello and welcome back, and I want to follow up my previous video regarding the Framework 13 Pro with a more in-depth thought. I've had a day or two to sit and think on this, and I've watched a few videos, but it dawned on me that Linus is an investor in Framework, and he's likely already seen the product and has hands-on experience with it, and he's going to ask questions that Nirav is either not anticipating or isn't going to bring up in his own reviews on the Framework channel. Despite the fact that Nirav is such a transparent individual with how he runs Framework, I think it's good to get a third party involved, even if he is an investor with a private jet. But we're not going to talk about that today. So let's go ahead and jump into this video and see what more we can learn about this product.
I want to take a closer look at this. Feels different. That's because the new Framework 13 Pro is now in a new Pro chassis that, like the MacBook Pro, is made of CNC'd aluminum. It also has a 21% bigger battery, 74 watt hours now, and new speaker modules. It also comes with a higher resolution 2.8K display, which is finally a touchscreen! Dun, 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 dun. Okay, about time. What the f took so long?
That is actually an ask that came from you. I remember 5 years ago you telling us we needed to have a touchscreen.
Yeah.
It actually is that it took us this long to get to a scale where we could afford to build a fully custom from scratch panel. So this is actually the first panel we built completely from a blank slate, which is actually a $1 million+ investment.
Even the bigger laptop manufacturers will often avoid the cost of a fully custom panel because unless you're operating at the scale of someone like an Apple, it's really hard to guarantee that you're going to move the kind of volume to justify that initial investment.
We are confident.
Very bullish on this.
Absolutely, on the Pro.
Yeah, that is a very confident move to make. I heard him say in his live stream yesterday that Framework has sourced and created their own panel, and I kind of just brushed over it because I didn't really think about it. That is a huge deal. They are very serious, and they are coming for the likes of Apple and other just Windows laptops in general, because they're trying to do everything themselves. I remember the biggest frustration I had with the launch of the high refresh rate display for the 13 before this one was that it had rounded corners, and I was thinking the whole time, why in the world would you even waste your time releasing that if you have a whole chassis and ecosystem built around a specific design, and then you're just gonna go ahead and go for a screen with rounded corners that will make you lose screen real estate and information on your display? And for what? Just to say that you have a high refresh rate display? I thought that was kind of silly. I couldn't buy into it. And it's not just the rounded corners. Also, I'm perfectly fine leaving my laptop running at 48 hertz. But if you're telling me this is a variable refresh rate between 30 and 120, and it's touchscreen, and it's sourced by Framework themselves exactly how they want it to be, I think that adds a lot more value. And while I don't need a new display right now, I will be struggling to find a reason not to pick up a new display, specifically the top end model, rather than sticking with the standard 60 hertz matte display I have. This is a well worth upgrade, and again, props to Framework for actually investing the $1 million and investing the time and the research to be able to do this. This actually really does go a long way.
It should be, because the final big change to the Pro is the addition of an Intel Core Ultra Series 3 mainboard. Now you can still get the Ryzen AI 300 series if you're into that sort of thing, but the big difference with the Intel one is it comes with LPCAMM2 memory and upgrades to PCIe Gen 5 support for the SSD, which means outstanding battery life, exemplary GPU performance thanks to Panther Lake, and high performance RAM with no compromise on upgradable memory. Of course, the big question on people's minds is, can I take this Core Ultra 3 mainboard and put it in my 5-year-old Framework 13 non-Pro?
You actually can. So
What?
That's right. No, we maintained complete backwards and forwards compatibility on the mainboard. So you can actually take an old mainboard and drop it into the Pro chassis, or take the new Intel Core Ultra Series 3 mainboard and put it into an original chassis.
I really do want to just take a minute, not to make a side tangent, but just to say that I know that Linus Tech Tips is completely scripted and that they're trying to appeal to a range of ages, young and old. So this is a probably performative reaction from Linus, but I won't lie, this is basically how I felt when the 13 Pro was being announced. So if this is genuinely Linus's first time hearing it, it wouldn't surprise me if this is like 90% genuine reaction. I was amazed when I realized that all the new components with the Core Ultra 3 and the new RAM style, first off being modular, I didn't know that was a thing. I did a little bit of research and I found out Lenovo has the same for their ThinkPad P1 series, so whatever. That's my mistake for being ignorant. But the fact that you could drop this board into a original Framework 13, yeah, I was pretty giddy to find out it was still staying the same when he had initially announced Framework Pro. And on top of that, the fact that my old board can go into the Pro chassis is exciting too. Like, that's not something to just write off, because thanks to you guys, and thank you, by the way, to everybody who stopped by the channel and subscribed. Very much appreciate it. I read the comments and I saw that some of you were saying that this Pro chassis kit you can buy will come with a battery, speakers, and I think you said display, but the battery and the speakers are enough for me to consider going all in on this Pro chassis. So once that becomes available, as long as there's no like first generation Pro chassis issues that I need to, think about and maybe wait for a second, third iteration of, I'm getting it. This chassis is mine.
Elijah bamboozled me. He got the briefing, and the next line says, okay, well, that's still way more than any other laptop manufacturer. That's fucking nuts.
It took a lot of great engineering work. We pulled it off.
Wow. Genuinely impressed, man. This feels like another Framework 16 moment where I'm just like, yeah, no offense, but I thought it'd be impossible. I never really believed in you,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, honestly, fair sentence there. I believed in Framework. I was skeptical about everything they could do, but I know a lot of people have not been optimistic or even really believe that Framework was capable of pulling off what they could. And I see a lot of cope and denial in the comments too, of people saying this is not going to be a MacBook killer. Maybe not today, but tomorrow it definitely could be. And this is already a big enough leap to be considering switching over to Framework if you haven't already.
This is off script, but I want to talk about the display a little bit more. You guys opted for a matte touchscreen, which is an unusual choice.
This is unusual. So we actually have a pretty novel anti-glare polarizer here. So we're indoors here, but if you actually take this out into daylight, it is actually pretty good, even pretty high contrast in that world.
Prove it. Oh, wow.
That's right. It is really, truly anti-glare. That is the beauty of having the matte surface there.
Holy crap, that's pretty good. I mean, even at like moderate brightness, this is usable.
Yep.
It really feels like Nirav and Framework as a company are truly thinking about what does the customer want? Because it seems like they're putting themselves in the shoes of a customer, because they have been customers. They've been like us and had to buy laptops from every other market and every other provider out there. And they're actually out here creating something a bit more unique and a bit more friendly that gives the consumer power. And I really genuinely believe that these are devices they use in-house because they truly stand by and believe the ethos and the quality and what the product represents. I'm sure every company does. I mean, I'm sure Lenovo only uses Lenovo laptops and Dell only uses Dell laptops and systems. I don't think there is anything outside of a Framework inside of the Framework HQ, as it were. And that's really something to admire. It really shows that this guy and these people very, very likely stand by their product because they know what the market is lacking and what the consumer truly wants. And they want you to have it. They want you to have what you want, not what they think you want.
Another really cool thing that Framework is doing that many other laptop companies are not is offering a build of the system with Ubuntu. They're actually working directly with Canonical to ensure that all the drivers and other updates that you need for seamless operation are pre-installed. This is remarkable because while lots of laptops support Linux, If you want something official, there aren't nearly as many options, making this an amazing gateway to a world without microslop. Do we have one we can open?
We can open up this one. But yeah, so this is actually a new expansion card latch from the Framework Laptop 12. So from that like two-hand version to this really simple single-hand version.
I knew
me,
it. I
prefer the
swore there
two-hand
was a new
experience,
one.
you know?
Yeah, no, I knew it. I totally called that. I thought that definitely looked like a new latching mechanism for the expansion slots. Perfect. That's actually a great improvement. I love to see little things like that.
Tell me how this bad boy performs.
We've got a higher capacity and higher efficiency. So actually there are use cases where we're getting more than double the battery life of the last generation Framework Laptop 13. So for example, Netflix 4K streaming, which oftentimes many of us do, we go from about 8 hours on the last Framework laptop to about 20 hours on this generation. The battery actually is physically bigger in 2 dimensions, so you'll need to bring along a new bottom cover and that new input cover to get the new battery.
I kind of had a feeling about that. I was wondering about needing the input cover to fit the new battery. I knew the bottom chassis would have to be swapped out, but hey, I'm not mad about getting an upgraded keyboard and trackpad. Hell yeah, dude, that's nice. Except I really want to stop and talk about sort of the issue that comes with that. The idea of Framework was that it would be the last laptop you owned. Now, I said in my last video I'm not very susceptible to marketing, but I am starting to understand a little bit more clearly now and see that with all these different colors and all these different chassis options, that you're not really just buying one laptop from these guys. I mean, hell, when you're buying a new mainboard, you're buying a new laptop. That's the brains and the guts of the laptop. So I get that. However, it's going to start looking pretty messy with the graphite and the original color getting blended and mixed together. And while I'm not really worried about the aesthetic of it, I am worried about how much money you're going to be sinking into trying to completely transform your existing computer into a whole other style. Now, am I happy that Framework even offers this in the first place? Yes, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I wouldn't absolutely one day want to change the entire look of my laptop. I know it wouldn't make financial sense, but if I wanted to, they're giving me the chance and they're giving me the option, and they open source everything so that anybody else could create their own third-party alternative, and they don't care, and that's great. I really do appreciate that about them. I guess my main concern is just, when is it going to become too much? And at what point are we going to start seeing Framework having to scale down? Because Framework is still a pretty new company, so I'm assuming they have the consumer base ready to go for all this different line of product. And how environmentally friendly is that? Is that something that Framework is eventually going to silently remove from their website and their business model? Or is it something that they're sort of going to slack upon but emphasize as something real that they're trying to do, sort of like Apple did with that whole Earth Day commercial a few years ago? I don't know, just some things to consider. I'm happy with choices, but I'm wondering at what cost is all this coming?
The final big change for the 13 Pro is the new input cover, which will have a new haptic touchpad and a better typing experience due to its CNC'd frame. There's a little spring pin that lifts this up to make it easier to lift off the keyboard now. With all these changes, this thing could be a serious competitor to the MacBook Pro with its feel, style, and performance, depending on one big thing.
It is a little step up from the Framework Laptop 13. We actually are keeping that original chassis available to be our new entry-level product. Obviously, adding a touchscreen, haptic touchpad, larger battery, full CNC chassis does add some cost. The memory and storage market is so volatile right now that I actually don't want to put a number in video. But one thing that we can commit to is that for anyone who is placing a pre-order for this product, whatever price they see and place an order for is the price that they're going to pay for it. We're not going to update prices on an order someone's already placed.
Boy, they better hope that the RAM prices don't start to plummet and go down before these things ship. If they do go down and then Framework decides to, I guess, credit back some money to you, I guess that'd be really cool of them, but I doubt that's going to happen, so don't hold your breath. And that's not even them being, the bad guy. They invested all the money into the hardware, and then you bought it at a price. There's an agreement there. So I wouldn't blame them if the prices started to plummet, if everyone who bought in early did not see a reduction or a credit go back to them. In all honesty, that is totally fair for Framework to make that call and make that decision.
I hate that qualifies as a good guy take these days.
It's an okay guy take, yeah.
What am I looking at here?
These are actually input modules for Framework Laptop 16 that were made by developers in the community. So this is a MIDI keyboard made by a guy named Pitstop Tech, and this is a cool Ergo keyboard layout made by a developer named Axel. So super awesome projects that drop right into the 16. This was actually our design, our release. So this was a 3D
You should leave it to
printable.
the developers in the community.
I know, they do a better job than we do. So we got a lot of asks, of course, for that one-piece touchpad row. So we ended up actually releasing a 3D printable design on GitHub last year, and then led that directly into this one-piece CNC aluminum design that we're actually going to be making for sale.
That is really something I admire about Framework, is that they will open source everything and let the community create proof of concepts and even sell input devices or just modular accessories that can enhance the device, and then Framework can use that as a springboard to more or less refine it and perfect it in their own way, and then turn around and open source that product again as well. You don't see anybody else doing this, and that's what really makes these guys stand out. I mean, seriously, think about it. Have you ever seen Apple take any advice from their customers? Have you ever seen Lenovo or Dell take any advice from their customers? Have you ever seen them listen to what the customer wants and go for it? I guess recently with repairable devices, Mac is slowly inching that direction, and I mean, like, we're talking more like centimeters, barely going in that direction. And Lenovo is starting to make their laptops a bit more repairable again, but nowhere, and I mean nowhere on the scale that Framework does. And being competitively priced with the ThinkPads and starting to get competitively priced to performance with the MacBooks, Framework's got some great momentum. I could see easily in like another 5 years, maybe 10 years, they're going to be just as affordable, if not cheaper, and they're going to be leading the way in the whole freedom, modularity, and right to ownership angle that they're going at.
On the subject of the Framework 16, one of its biggest selling points is, of course, its upgradable GPU modules. But up until now, your upgrade options have been pretty limited. You've got a small handful of GPUs, or you've got, well, nothing. But now, there's more. There's the Oculink expansion bay. This will give you a single Oculink 8i connection out the back of your laptop, which you could run into anything that would take an Oculink 8i signal, like, say, for example, a full-sized freaking desktop GPU.
Oculink gives you native PCIe out over that cable, meaning you don't have protocol overhead. And we actually used 8i rather than the more common Oculink 4 interface, which means we can actually get up to 128 gigabits per second of bidirectional throughput.
And that's a very valid reason. Actually, Tech Power Up wrote an article a couple of months ago talking about how Thunderbolt 5 was anywhere from 16 to 36% worse for eGPU performance compared to Oculink.
This is why we are positioning this as an Oculink dev kit, because we know that this is not a general consumer solution like something like Thunderbolt, where everything is hot plug.
Leave it to Linus to go ahead and just explain everything like I'm 5. I would love to see more development from this Oculink. I didn't really get it because, again, I'm not really involved with the whole Oculink scene. I don't really mess with that field. So to see him hook up a GPU to it and explain what Oculink really is and the differences between Thunderbolt 5, yeah, I'm excited to see where this takes off to. But again, I don't have much knowledge in this. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I think this is just another example of how Framework will try something different and embrace the community, taking it the next step to show what they want, so Framework can see where the customer wants this tech to go, and then they can perfect it and get something more refined and reliable. Just a great business practice, honestly. It proves itself how successful and smart they are.
Other question is, what does this mean for folks who want to run more than one PCIe card off of this slot? Because 8 lanes is a lot.
8 lanes is a lot, but that gets you 100 gigabit network cards. It gets you full DGPUs. There's a lot of great use cases for 8 lanes.
Right, but what if I wanted like 2 cards in like one of those bay things?
So we actually have in this card support for only Oculink 8i over a single interface. There is actually a developer in the community who designed their own Oculink 8i board that supports bifurcation into multiple interfaces.
Oh, wow. That would be pretty cool.
And this is why I really wanted to check out Linus's video delving into the new products that were talked about at the Next Gen event. See, Linus isn't afraid to just sort of test things out and question Nirav. Even in a scripted scenario, he'll ask the questions that should be asked. Think what you will about Linus, but I think everybody has some good traits about them, and this is definitely one of the positive traits about Linus. So I want to leave it there. I don't really have much to say about anything else. I just wanted to go over the 13 Pro and give some more of my thoughts on that. So once again, thank you again to everybody who found the channel and subscribed. Your subscription really means a lot, especially considering I hate subscriptions, but this one's free and every single one I get means a lot. So if you're new here and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000, and thanks again for watching. I will see you next time.